Welcome back to Analytical Media. We are a consortium, a group of therapists, college professors, and well-published peer-reviewed authors. Today's question: how do I pick a therapist? This is a very common question. People oftentimes want to know what type of therapist they should pick. What type of therapy is the most effective? There is psychiatric treatment, psychoanalytic treatment, behavioral treatment, and dozens of other types, literally. What about the background of the therapist? Should it be a background in medicine, a background in psychology, a background in social work, clinical social work, and again, many other types of background? What should the degree be in? Should it be a master's, a PhD, a PsyD? So, those are the general types of questions. What type of therapy in scientific studies shows to be the best? So, you can and should be able to talk to any therapist you're thinking of working with. You should be able to call them up and let them know that you want to talk to them, and they should give you 10 or 15 minutes of their time to talk to you about your issues, the type of therapy they use, what they would want to talk about, and answer any other questions you have. After you've done this with 4 or 5 or more therapists, which one do you choose? The background in medicine, the background in psychology? Who do you choose? Well, here's who you choose. Here's who the studies show you should choose. Who did you feel the most comfortable talking to or talking with? Did one person stand out? Studies show that that's the person you should pick as your therapist. What about the background of the person? It's irrelevant. Studies show that the person you're most comfortable speaking to, that you've formed the closest bond to in that short period of time, 10 or 15 minutes, that person will be the right person, the one that will help you the most. And that's what the studies show. Now, I'd like to go back and talk about a study that was done more than 25 years ago. And what was done, which is commonly done, is a group of therapists, all kinds of therapists. I believe there were approximately 50 therapists, various backgrounds, various degrees, brought together in a room for a study. They were volunteering. They thought these 50 people, thought they were being asked to participate in a psychological study. And very often, there are people with a mental health background who are asked to participate in studies, just as at most universities, the participants in psychological studies are the college students at that college, and in particular, the psychology students at that college. It's a common thing. So it's not unusual to be asked to participate in a study, a mental health study, if you're in the mental health field, or a field closely related to a mental health field, like virtually any field in psychology, clinical social work. So these individuals all showed up at like 8 o'clock in the morning at some large room, thinking they were going to participate in a psychological study. It was a large room, food was available, and there were a limited number of chairs, so people were being encouraged to stand up and wait in this room. And of course, they were socializing a little bit, talking. available to them were food and drink, light food, a light breakfast type food, and drink, coffee, milk, orange juice, tea. And at 8 o'clock, the experimenter addressed the group and said, "I'm sorry, we're running late. Please be patient and we'll start this as soon as possible. We'll assign you to groups as soon as possible. Please be patient. If you can't wait, we'll understand. Just please let us know." And so the experimenter left the room and the people stayed. The subjects stayed, waiting to be assigned to their groups and their studies. Later on, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour later, experimenter came back and said, "I deeply apologize. We're almost ready, but we can't begin yet. We were having technical issues. We understand if you can't wait. Please let us know if you want to leave this study." And then no one left. And then the experimenter came back, perhaps an hour later. So these people had been together for 2 to 3 hours in a room where people stood up most of the time, walked around the room, communicated with each other. When the experimenter came back into the room, finally, he passed out forms to everyone that was there. And in those forms, it said very simply, "Who would you pick to be your therapist?" Of course, everyone in the room, all 50 people, had name tags on. And no, you didn't speak to everyone. But over that period of time, you were close to everyone. You moved around. There was no seating like in a classroom. There were very few chairs, but there were a few. And so people socialized. Total strangers socialized in that room. What the experimenters wanted to see 50 people picking 50 different names, that everyone would pick someone else, a different person, because these were all therapists in that room. But that's not what happened. It turned out that those 50 people picked a few people, a very few. They picked 3 to 5 individuals, varying numbers of people, varying times when this study was run. And so what we found was that those 50 therapists identified 3 to 5 people who they wanted and felt they wanted for their own therapist, and 3 to 5 people they thought would make the best therapist. The same thing, the therapist's therapist. The study was repeated a number of times, and it was consistently the same. There was a consensus that some of the people in that room, though they had all been total strangers, some of those people, a handful of those people, were recognized as having qualities to make them desirable to be your therapist, or to be the therapist of the therapists. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us that not all therapists are created equal. There are some people who are much better at therapy than other people, irregardless of their particular backgrounds, irregardless of their particular degrees. And it might be a good way to pick therapists. If we had 50 in a room and you could mingle with them, walk around, observe, listen, maybe you could pick the therapist's therapist. But there is a factor, an intangible factor, that's involved in picking the right therapist for you. It would be good if there were 50 therapists in a room and you could walk around and meet them and talk to them and observe them. But that can't happen. It could not possibly happen. But you can talk to the therapist you're interested in on the phone. They should all be available to you. I'm not saying they're available the moment you call in. But they should all agree to call you back if they're not available. And they should all give you 10 to 15 minutes of their time. Some may give you more because some people want to help and you're calling in with a problem and they start to help right away. They go right into the helpful mode. Are they being paid for that call? No. But nonetheless, they're attempting to help. They know what you're doing and they're attempting to help. They're attempting to give you something to make a choice by. Who do you choose? Well, they're going to talk to you, going to try to help. Also, if you pick a therapist and there's something you dislike about the therapist in the first, say, 1 to 3 sessions, you're picking up a negative vibe, you're picking up something you don't like, something intangible, you should stop therapy and see someone else. Could you be giving up on the world's best therapist? Perhaps, but you also could be wasting your time. We're going to put together another video on how will I know if my therapy is any good? And that will go into more detail. Look for that. How will I know if my therapy is any good? Today's question was, how do I pick a therapist? I hope we've helped. If not, please email us your questions. Put questions in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer those questions for you. Okay, this is Analytical Media. We're attempting to educate you, help you, dig deeper into psychology and philosophy, consciousness, the meaning of life. If you have not subscribed and you like this topic, these are the things we do. Anything pertinent to consciousness, being, existence, philosophy, psychology, mental health, therapy, all those things. Those are the things we attempt to amplify and illuminate. Those topics. We go deeper. This isn't a cursory overlook. We're trying to go deep. And we can go as deep as you like to go. We need to know what you want. If not, we'll keep doing this. Hope things are going well for you. We'll see you when we post the next video.